Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from the Chris Voss Show.com, the Chris Voss Show.com. Hey, we're coming here with a great another podcast. Well, of course, we always have the best audience and best guests, so be sure to subscribe to iTunes, Google Play. Go to youtube.com/Chris Voss. Hit that bell notification button so you can get all the latest updates and things going on with the show. And also see the new puppy on YouTube and also the reviews. Matt Ward is joining us today. Matt is the founder of Breakthrough Champion, his speaking brand. And in 2002, Matt began working with business owners through his website agency, In Concert Web Solutions, to improve their bottom line, gain more clients, and grow their respective businesses. He's the author of Making Your Website Effective, and he has a new book coming out in the fall of 2018 called Care Package: How to Create More Word-of-Mouth Referrals. Welcome to the show, Matt. How are you?
Great, Chris. Thanks for having me on. I greatly appreciate it.
Certainly, most certainly. So give us some plugs about you and where people can look you up on the interwebs as we go through the podcast today.
Yeah. So my main website I point everybody to is breakthrough-champion.com. And if they go there, they can go to breakthrough-champion.com/care and take a caring assessment, which talks a lot about how they get more word-of-mouth referrals. And I've got a blog over there, Facebook page, a group on Facebook called Get More Word-of-Mouth Referrals, which is a free group that people can jump into. And that's pretty much how they can find me. I'm on Twitter, Breakthrough Champ. So, yeah.
Awesome sauce. So give us a little bit of history background so our audience can get to know you a little bit better.
Sure. So I am what you would probably describe as one of those typical accidental business owners. I stumbled into business ownership after having gotten laid off from a job, a tech job. And I ended up working as a contractor for Lycos.com, the search engine, the one surrounded by dogs, as a matter of fact. I know you're a big dog lover. So they had that slogan, "Go fetch it," and now you barely hear anything about Lycos anymore. But I launched my web agency in January of 2005 full time. Got a few employees and kind of started running the rat race of business ownership. And I realized then that the growth opportunity of any business relied on word-of-mouth referrals. Oftentimes people would, get up every day and try and make the sales pitch. And I was never one of those people to do the cold calling. So I just started building a very strong network. I became what I consider to be a connector. And so I help people connect all the time. And I just love doing that. And I realized that if I became a connector, that people would turn to me to find other people who could help them. And so that piece alone helped me understand really the concept behind word-of-mouth referrals.
Yeah, word-of-mouth referrals are really important and really great because of the reference point behind them, where you're getting referred from clients or someone who really knows you and your expertise and what you do, and it can make a real difference. I mean, that handoff. And like I say, I like being a connector too. That's one of the fun things I like about being an influencer, is because I know a lot of really great people, and so a lot of times I can help people out and be like, oh, here's a good person. I'm being a big mouth and an influencer, I'm constantly talking about either people or brands or products that I like. So it's great to be able to refer people. Sometimes it's people come to me and going, hey, what's a camera that you like, or something like that.
Right. And that's such a great thing to have knowledge that other people desire. The fact that you can share that, the fact that you can care about them enough to share it to and with them, is an amazing feeling of they keep turning back to you now to do that. And I always feel very gratified when people turn to me and say, hey, do you know an electrician? Do you know a plumber? Do you know this or that? And I've been in networking groups before that sort of was the foundation behind this whole connecting. I've been in BNI, Business Networking International, since probably December of 2004. So connecting with people was just an awesome thing. I just love it.
That's really awesome, man. That's really awesome. The yeah, it's nice to be able to get business referrals from the the people because you can make more money with them and everything else, and they validate who you are and what's going on. So you got a book coming out in the end of this year, later on it. How's that coming along? It's a lot of fun writing a book, huh?
Yeah, it's challenging. Mine is unique in that it's not one of your typical business books, which is a sort of has a story and an arc and whatever to it. It's more of like a encyclopedia, like a reference book in a way. It's not that thick, obviously, but it's 50 ways to over deliver, care about your clients, your customers, things like that. And I don't know if we're going to end up on 50. It's in the editing stage right now. But the idea is if you can over deliver, if you can find things to do for your, and I call them contacts because it's not always your clients and your customers that you're dealing with, you're going to get more word of mouth referrals. And so sort of my concept, my intellectual property is around this idea that if you care about others, regardless of whether or not you're trying to make a sale to them, that's not what this is about. This is about getting up every day and working with people that you truly love hanging out with. People you would go golfing with if they weren't your clients. People you would go to the bar with at the end of the night and just have a beer with. People you would show up at their kid's graduation party because they invited you because you have a true relationship with them. And so when you build relationships like that, you don't always build them with clients and customers. You build them with all types of people. And so if you care about others, the byproduct is word of mouth referrals. And so what my book does is kind of help people understand that there are things you can do every day to connect with people, whether it's share information, share a resource, send a thank you card. I mean, this is the number one problem out there right now is thank you cards. This is the easiest way. This is the lowest hanging fruit in word of mouth referral business about connecting with other people is to send a thank you card. I have a stack right here on my desk of all these cards that I can just reach and grab one. Some say thank you, some say just a note, some are completely blank and allow me to write in it whatever I want. And that's a big thing that no one's doing now, and they're not setting themselves, apart from the noise of all the social media that's out there.
Yeah, having a resource you can take and use like that, where you think people don't use these old mechanisms. In fact, I love talking to people on the phone, and I find people fairly receptive. I don't call them millennials, but most people are fairly receptive on talking on the phone because no one talks on the phone anymore. I remember when it used to be when you would call people, especially for sales, you try and get through to whoever the buyer was. If you were selling something, it was really hard to get through. It was impossible to get them on the phone because everyone was calling them. Now people kind of like getting on the phone with you and talking and chit-chatting a little bit more. And I like the thank you card thing. Some of the nice contacts. I've had people mail me stuff before and either thank you, birthday cards, whatever. And they certainly do mean a lot more and stand out in building rapport and everything else.
Yeah, you mentioned birthday cards there, Chris, and it's amazing to me what happens on our birthday on Facebook, right? 200 people posting on our wall, happy birthday. Yet if both you and I change our birthday to next week on Facebook, what's going to happen? 200 more people are going to flood. And it's not even our birthday. They don't know our birthday, right? And so what happens is Facebook gives us a great tool. We just don't use it the right way. And I'm not suggesting that if you have 500 friends on Facebook, you should be sending 500 Facebook birthday cards. But if you do have 500 friends on Facebook, you probably have a handful or 10 that you'd love to send a birthday card to. And they give you this tool that if you go in there and look, you can see when the birthdays are. Now, there's a lot of people there that won't put their year because they don't want people to know their age, but that's irrelevant to what we're trying to do, which is establish connection, cut through the noise, and become top of mind. You see, marketers out there love to talk, and I did it for years. The reason you advertise, the reason you market is to be top of mind aware to the people that are looking for the product or service you're looking for. But old is the new, right? Old school is the new school. It's the new way of doing things now. And so if you roll this back and do the birthday card thing, and you ask people for their address, they're going to give it to you. and you do it in enough advance time using the Facebook tool that they give you to see when the dates are, you can cut through the noise and establish real, true, lifelong, meaningful relationships that result in more word of mouth business for your specific business.
That's awesome. Yeah, whenever I get something in the mail, I always look up the person. I'll actually feature them on my list of special people that I like to follow on Facebook. To me, it's more of an in real life connection when people do stuff like that. And I think it's real simple and real important. In fact, you're motivating me now I really should sit down with my birthdays on Facebook, like you say, and program them at least in my Google calendar. And like you say, for the core people that I want to stay in touch with and interact with and network with. Yeah.
There is a tool. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but there's a tool that allows Facebook calendar, Facebook birthdays to sync with your Google Calendar. And so you can see all you have to do is just look, push the arrow out a couple of weeks. You can see whose birthday it is. You can pick a card. Right now, there's a tool out there that a lot of people will use called Send Out Cards. Now, Send Out Cards is valuable. It's a great tool to stay in touch, but it's not the tool you want to use for this. This is really where the value comes, is in the handwritten time it took for you to write that card. The fact that you hand wrote it, it took you 10 minutes. You had to think about what you're going to say, and what you're going to write is some sort of relevance to a recent conversation. So, or something you saw. So this is the other thing, Chris, that people miss out on, is Facebook friends tell their entire story on Facebook. They tell the world what's going on. So graduations, illnesses, problems with their cars, challenges with their homes and their kids. They're bragging about their kids in school and college. I have a good friend, in fact, the guy that painted that painting that's behind me, Eric Wall. His oldest son just graduated from college yesterday. So there are things that happen in people's lives that are shared publicly with all their friends, and we don't do anything with that information. In fact, we might at best say congrats, or the typical, similar to the Facebook post, like happy birthday. It's going to be something like, oh, sorry you feel that way, or sorry for your loss, or something like that. So to cut through the noise, you want to write a handwritten card, not use Send Out Cards. Send Out Cards comes in play really well when there's a connectivity need and you're not able to spend the time to do it. But people will see a Send Out Card as an automated card. So you want to be careful about that.
Yeah, most definitely. The Send Out Cards, I see a lot of people doing those. And yeah, automation, you look at it and you go, whatever. But, I don't read most people's books that they send me. People, I'll interview somebody and they'll send me a book. And I'm always kind of bummed when someone sends me a book and they didn't personalize it. I'm just like, I'm giving your book away to somebody else. I'm not going to keep it.
That's great.
I kind of feel offended. It's like, I'm sending you a book, Chris, because I really care about you, and you're a special influencer, and I really want you to promote my book. And I get the book, and they didn't even bother putting an inscription in.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow, I really feel special now.
So here's the thing about books, right? Is and this is the funny thing. I will people buy my web book, my effective website book off of Amazon. It's cheap. It's an e-download thing. I don't even do the paperback up there, but I had a bunch printed, and people will ask me locally if they can get a copy, or people will email me and I'll just mail it to them. I don't even charge most people for the book. The real trick to this book thing that I have found is that you don't gift your own book, right? Certainly that's a marketing tool. It's not a gift, right? So what I do is I gift other people's books. And I'm reaching over here because I have a book that I really, really, truly believe in, and it changed my life many years ago. I read this book by Keith Ferrazzi called Never Eat Alone. This is a brand new copy of this right here that I have on my desk, because what I do when I have a conversation with somebody and they talk about this concept that I might have been talking about and how they love the concept of it or whatever, I'll go on Amazon, I'll buy a brand new book I like to buy hardcovers, but if none are available, I'll buy the paperback. I have it shipped to me, and inside the front cover, I personalize it as if I was sending this to you. I would personalize it with your name, write a message of what impacted me and why it mattered to me, and send it to you. So I pay double shipping on that because it matters to me most that you see the message from me, just like you were talking about the message from the author when they didn't personalize it to you. So I use other people's books to gift to others. And I have found that sharing the knowledge that I learned from somebody else's book has been so gratifying for me personally. This book is actually about giving without the expectation of getting anything in return, right? It's not about how to get fat. It's like says never eat alone. I mean, a lot of people think I read a lot of these books because I'm eating all the time, right? But the thing is, it's not about that. It's about relationships and building deep, meaningful relationships one at a time. It's such a great book.
Yeah, it's wonderful to build relationships. I was looking to see what tools there are to export. I guess you used to be able to export birthdays from Facebook to your Google Calendar. I really would like to figure out how to do that because I really like Google Calendar. I really don't like going into birthdays for Facebook and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, so I've got to figure out how to do that. You've given me something that I really need to take and do in getting people birthdays and sending people. I know a lot of people by name, so I can be like, okay, yeah, that person is someone I should add to this. So I really should be adding that to my thing, sending personal wishes, maybe even personal emails to people instead of just the Facebook thing. There used to be a lot of these apps that people would use to do Facebook birthdays, and I think Facebook dialed back a lot of that API.
Oh, because of Cambridge Analytica?
Probably, and everything else under the sun, really, when it comes down to it. So it's but yeah, that makes a huge difference. And what are some of the other tips that you have in getting more referrals from people?
So I think so there are 4 key tips to doing this. So the first of which is over deliver. So that's defined as you have some sense of a business transaction and you need to exceed the expectations. So how do you do that? So one company that's great at doing this is John's Crazy Socks. They sell crazy socks online. You can get them at johnscrazysocks.com. But, and I have no affiliation with them. I just saw John has Down syndrome and he started this company. And what is so unique about him is that his mission is to spread happiness through crazy socks. But more importantly, when he ships you your socks, he ships them with a bag of candy, a little small bag of candy in there. So you get Skittles or M&Ms or something like that in the box and a handwritten card. So it's unique in the experience that's delivered. And if you live in Long Island, sometimes he'll hand deliver the box. So if you're over delivering, that's key, right? So that's a pillar number 1. Pillar number 2 is listening. So I say that you can listen with more than just your ears. You can listen with your eyes, right? And so that is using what I call social media intelligence, kind of like the NSA, right? Watching what everybody's talking about and then acting on that. It also is using blogs. So people who put publicly available information out there. Years ago, I had a friend who wrote a blog. It was some marketing blog, but embedded in the middle of that blog somewhere was this simple line about her love of chocolate-covered bacon. And so I spent an hour sourcing it, ordering it, and shipping it to her. And like a week later, all my social media notifications were going off because she was tagging me in all these posts of pictures of chocolate-covered bacon, right? So that's how you can listen. You can pay attention to the things that people like, right? So if you're a realtor, for example, and you're dealing with selling of a home and buying of a home, you know the intimate likes and hobbies of your clients because you're in their home. You know if they have a pool table and play pool. You know if they have motorcycles and ride Harleys and all these type of things. Instead of getting a traditional closing gift like a gift card to a local Outback Steakhouse or something like that, get them a gift card to Harley if they own a Harley, right? So make it about them, not about you, right? And so that's listening. The third thing is surprise. There are ways you can impress people by just surprising them, like literally not telling them that something is coming in the mail. So shipping, if you want to ship a book, somebody mentions something, like I have a book, I don't have a copy of it here, but it's called Steal the Show. It's by one of my speaking coaches, Michael Port. And so if somebody talks to me about wanting to get into the speaking business and the performance of speaking, I won't even say anything. I'll just get their address and I'll mail them a book. It's a total surprise, right? And then the fourth thing is non-self-serving acts. So that's like what I explained about how I take the book and I ship it to somebody else. I use somebody else's gift. A non-self-serving act is when there's no benefit to you. You see, if you over-deliver for a client or you surprise a client, there may be something in it for you down the road. But in my business, in the business of speaking, it's rare that if I gift something to another speaker that, I mean, they're not my client, right? So it's a little bit different. And so there's not a lot of opportunity for me to gain anything from that. So non-self-serving acts is the fourth component of care package, which those four combined will really raise your game and your TOMA, your top of mind awareness.
Yeah, those are awesome topics. Those are different tips that are going to really make a difference. You know, so many people are so focused on themselves nowadays. They're so focused on what they're doing, their egos, whatever they're posting on their Instagram and taking selfies, that, you know, some of the stuff that you've suggested are great ways to gain better rapport with people, build referrals. And then I imagine the best way to get referrals is to ask for them, right?
It is not. That is the most common misconception. Here's why. It rarely works. And when they think it works, it's not truly a referral. Because here's what happens. I come on your podcast and I say, hey, Chris, thanks for having me on the podcast. And at the very end, I go, oh, by the way, do you know anybody else's podcast I can go on? And you either are now sitting there like, did you really just ask me for that? Like, we don't even have a very deep, meaningful relationship, and you're already asking me for referrals. Yeah. Right? And so now you're in a position where you need to get out of that situation. So you're going to do one of two things. You know what, Matt? I'll think about it. I'll get back to you. And then you never get back to me. Or two, you know what? I do have one. Here you go. Sprinkle fairy dust, right? It's a lead, not a referral. You said something very early on in this conversation, which was the business that turns into good business is the deep referral, right? You were referencing this concept that it's well seeded, right? The problem is when you ask somebody for a referral, it's not well seeded. And we did a study early on in my web agency where we did a survey of clients and we said, would you refer us if we gave away a big screen TV? And back then, those big screen TVs were like, you could barely get one, right? They were all the rage. They were like $2,000 and they were huge. The response came back overwhelmingly with, no, we would not refer you. However, because of the TV, we would refer you when the opportunity presents itself. Do you know when the opportunity presents itself? It's not when you ask. It's when you're top of mind aware to them. So if you stay in touch over a period of time, like marketers want you to do, but you do it in a deep and meaningful way and a one-to-one relationship, it's more likely to happen that way.
Yeah, I've got a friend who also runs a PR agency, and he works a lot of influencers, of course, to refer to brands and stuff. And it's always funny. He has me on a tickler file. I think he's the only PR agency that has to sort of reach out to me. But yeah, about I think it's once every 3 months I hear from him, and I get a call, and I'm like, there's my thing. But it's funny, he's one of the few people that do it. I have a few big companies that throw parties every year at CS that are private parties they invite us to, but and that's kind of special. But yeah,
but then you don't hear about it. You don't hear from them throughout the year, right?
Yeah, well, we interact throughout the year with reviews and stuff for their products, but the big pat on the back and the, hey, how's it going? Hey, nice to see you again is once a year, which is nice. But yeah, I think out of all the PR agencies and everybody I deal with, there's only the two.
Yeah. And it's funny because like you said earlier, it's old school, right? It's old school. Picking up the phone and contacting you one-on-one is completely old school with how this is being done. And I think the problem is the good news for us and the people I work with and help is that there's so little competition in this world because no one's like, people don't care enough to actually do this stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I think is so great about it. That's why we have, I was working with a client who does real estate closings, and he had these t-shirts made up. And for whatever reason, the hashtag was a little close to his brand, or it was on brand. And one of the agents he was working with said, you know, I wouldn't wear that because it's an advertisement for you. Otherwise, the rest of the shirt is awesome. So I told him, I said, go have another shirt made without the hashtag. And then take her to lunch, give her the shirt. She'll know you were listening, and she'll give you more referrals. And you don't need the hashtag, right? And so, you know, they did that and they had success, because what success is defined as in that situation is an impact to that contact, that they in fact were listening to the fact that she wanted a shirt, but one without the hashtag. And so he went and did it.
That's brilliant. You know, and just those little care packages, little tips, little extras make all the difference in the world, because like you said, no one's doing them. So it stands out like a sore thumb. Recently, one of my gal pal friends on Facebook, she sent out 100 cards that she hand signed and made little notes into everyone that was her friend on Facebook. And you know, it was cool. I mean, it was really unique. It was very personal. And it made me kind of go, oh, I should probably pay more attention to this person, or care a whole lot more about what they're talking about, what their feed is, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, there's so little of that going on. When I grew up in sales, you know, you would have to go to the big industrial places in the office and try and get through the gatekeeper, and you'd bring all sorts of gifts. In fact, the company I work for had this, you know, we had books of gifts we could order from just about anything to everything, and all the merchandising doodads, the cups, the crap, you know, all that stuff. And so we would approach these gatekeepers and of course work them and give them a swag, if you will. And then of course we give them to the buyers if we can get through to them. And you know, they didn't care. They're just like, geez, this is like the 50th cup I've got today. Thanks, Chris. Wow. Okay. I really feel special. Oh, it has your logo on it. Wow. Okay. Didn't see that coming. But you know, and back then just everyone was piled with this swag.
Yeah.
And crap being given to this merchandising. Now it's rare to see it. I mean, even when I go to shows like CES, it's very rare that someone will hand me something that has you know, their logo on it and different things like that.
I think trade shows is very common now. I mean, my web agency, we did promotional products distribution as well, and we saw it a lot in the trade show world, where you'd go by and, you know, and I think that there's nothing wrong with having swag with your company, and that's the type of thing you do. I think the problem comes, as I look back now, the type of stuff we were doing is we were kind of just offloading it and getting it into the hands of anybody for any reason. When you talk about the conversation about trying to walk in and present somebody and get through the gatekeeper, I think the problem that we all missed was that it had to be about the gatekeeper, and instead it was about us. When we're bringing the mug with our logo on it to the gatekeeper to say, hey, I think this might help you drink your coffee, it doesn't really do that, and it's got our logo on it. In reality, what we should be doing is understanding who that person really is and what matters to them. Because if that person was the biggest Star Trek fan or Star Wars fan of all, then getting him or her a Chewbacca or Han Solo or R2-D2 coffee mug would really matter, and it would really mean something. You see, the experiences are what we take away in life. We never remember the email we got sent last week. But if I shipped you a coffee mug and said, hey, just checking in, hope you're doing well, and it was something that mattered to you, you know? I mean, I was recently featured on a podcast, and within like 5 minutes of going on, the guy's like, so tell me about your ATV. And I'm like, wait, what? How do you know about that? And I realized, he's like, I was on your website. I looked at it. I see the pictures with the ATV on it and everything. And I'm like, wow, you did the whole research thing. Like, not everybody does that. And yet I'm sitting here today talking about how he researched me.
You remember those experiences.
Yeah. And that's my hobby. That's one of the things I love to do. I love the ATV. I love the scuba dive. Those are things I like to do. So if somebody talks to me about those things, it connects with me in a personal way and in a deep, meaningful way.
Definitely. I mean, these simple touches, so like I said, everyone's so self-absorbed nowadays. They're worried about themselves. I did something different today that I'm kind of proud of. I actually went on my Facebook and I asked everyone, I said something that normally I'm very self-absorbed too on my, whatever I want to talk about my Facebook. But I asked everyone today, I said, let's talk about you for a change. Catch up with everyone. How are you doing? And so I've got people posting their comments, and then I'm just kind of writing, like I kind of sound some of these comments like a who's those gals that you'd write to for advice, like an advice column?
Dear Abby.
Yeah, Dear Abby. I'm kind of doing those answers. I'm like, well, that's great, or be blessed, and stuff like that. But it's kind of flipped a switch on some people where they're like, wow, Chris, why is Chris asking about me and what's important to me for change? Wow.
Isn't it funny how a shift in just a simple post can create more engagement? And that concept of, if I flip my Facebook, post in a different way, that it gets different engagement. What if I flip my interactions in a different way in real life, in relationships? What kind of engagement or reaction would it get there?
Most definitely. We get so focused on ourselves, especially now in this mobile world where we're looking into a phone all of our lives. And it is rare that we get to know the people, what their likes and cares are, which is ironic because Facebook gives you, you can see what movies people like, or genres people like, or music people like. You can look into their Spotify and see what type of music they like. Spotify actually would be a good resource because you can see, I'll see what my friends are playing. I'm like, wow, I didn't know my friend was into listening to XYZ music, and maybe send them an album, maybe send them a digital download or something of,
there you go.
This way. I bought books on Audible for friends, send them to people. Just spending that little extra time. And social media is such a great resource between LinkedIn and Facebook and stuff. You can kind of find what people are doing. You can even go to people's Twitter and kind of see what they're chatting about, what their thing is. There's one good friend that I have that he collects watches, and the only reason I know that is because he posts them on his Instagram. And the other day I had a watch person, the watch broker, I believe it was, retailer, on the Chris Voss Show podcast. And so when I got done, I gave him a referral to the guy and said, hey, I just had this guy on my podcast. Seems like a nice guy. You collect watches. Whatever happens with that, have fun with it. But, that was an example of a great referral. And the guy didn't ask me, the watch broker didn't ask me for a referral. Who knows what would become of it, but that's a good example of me giving a great referral to somebody. Hopefully it'll turn out.
Chris, this stuff is everywhere. I once gave my speaking coach a gift, because I felt he had helped me greatly and got me sort of really transformed in this concept of what we were working on. And I at the time I didn't know what to get him. So I just started thinking, and about 20 minutes later I had it. You see, he had publicly stated, both on his podcast and on his Facebook page and everywhere else on other people's podcasts, he had told this story of how he had a boat and it burned down. It had an electrical fire and the boat sank. And he got insurance and got a new boat, right? But when you take, I can't buy the guy a boat, right? I mean, it's not going to happen. That's a little crazy. But when you take that with his lifestyle, like him and his wife like to drink wine and they like to entertain, I said, aha, I'm going to buy him one of those promotional products. So I got him a wood wine bottle opener engraved with the name of his boat on it with the exact logo. Now you might say, where on earth did I get this guy's logo? A simple Facebook search pulled up some group he was in that wasn't private, that I saw a water bottle with the new logo on it. I took that picture, I sent it to a graphic designer, I had the logo vectorized, and then I turned it. The whole thing cost me like $35. Like, this stuff isn't hard to do. You just have to be aware of what's going on around you. And this stuff is not subterranean. This stuff is out there in the ether. Everybody puts this stuff out there on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it lasts forever, especially if it's something that people are going to look at, because they're always going to remember you. And I think
it's got their logo on it, Chris. It's got their logo on it, but every time they pour a bottle of wine,
they're thinking about you.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? And so I have a speaker friend, a Hall of Fame speaker friend named Bruce Turkel. He's been a great mentor to me. He wrote a book called All About Them. Now, Bruce is on all the major news stations, and he wrote this book, and he speaks about marketing and branding and how everything is about yourself, but it should be about them. People make it about themselves, like the thing you were talking about with the tchotchkes and all of that. And so what happens is people build websites focused on their own company, not focused on their customers' problems, right? So that's how we would build websites. But that's the concept that Bruce talks about. And this whole time we've been talking, you keep saying, like, you're getting it. Like, you completely get this whole concept, which is, if we're not about us, we are about them. And if we're about them, it cuts through the noise, generates more word of mouth referrals.
Most definitely. Yeah, it makes all the difference in the world. So any final tips you want to share before we break?
I would just suggest to people that they put caring in the very front of everything. You'll be a happier person. You'll get up every day, 2 feet on the floor. You'll stand and smile with who you have to work. You're not going to have crappy clients you're working with because you're going to care, right? And so what you're going to want to do is go forward with this and take the caring assessment, right? So that's breakthrough-champion.com/care and do a self-assessment of how well you care about other people. And it's a free assessment online you can take.
That sounds awesome, man. That sounds awesome. So give me the rest of your plugs, Matt, so people can look them up on the website.
Well, not a whole lot of plugs. Just breakthrough-champion.com will work. Breakthrough-champion.com/care is the caring assessment. You can find me on Twitter at Breakthrough Champ, which is break THRU champ. And Facebook page is Breakthrough Champion. And word of mouth referrals group is Get More Word of Mouth Referrals.
Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. Well, hopefully you guys got some great tips and things to take and get referrals. Give an extra damn, and you never know what's going to come. I'm a big believer in serendipity, where sometimes you throw stuff out in the universe and it seems like you're doing stuff that no one else cares about, and you'll be surprised where it comes back to you, especially in interpersonal relationships. I've always been surprised sometimes where money comes falling out of the sky, and I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming, and maybe I was nice to someone or did a favor for them or whatever. Sometimes it's, I didn't think, well, that person doesn't care about me enough to do something, and it'll come out of left field because of something I did for them. So yeah, just let serendipity rule, and you never know. And sometimes you can't expect immediate return. Sometimes it may take years, and someone will refer something to you out of the blue. You can't go, well, I sent them something, so they owe me something and I expect it now. There's all sorts of different things that can happen that way. So do that. Anyway, I appreciate Matt being on my show. I certainly appreciate my audience tuning in. Be sure to give us a subscribe on YouTube, Google Play, and that's youtube.com/Chris Voss, Google Play, and iTunes. So refer it to your friends, neighbors, relatives. I am asking for referrals. And get them to listen to the show as well. And we certainly appreciate all of our audience and Matt Ward for joining us today. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.